Welcome back to the live stream. It is Trial and Error with Brian and Fearless. This week we're continuing on our series. Because previously we had done kind of deconstructing the mythology surrounding 48 Laws of Power. Um, Last week we did Rich Dad Poor Dad. We started Rich Dad Poor Dad. We're going to continue on this pathway. We did talk about the collapse of the American narrative first. I need a little bit of a reprieve from that with all the stuff going on in the world right now. And so we're going to do mostly Rich Dad Poor Dad, but it's going to cross over into some social stuff. So just what it is. For those that don't know, Rich Dad Poor Dad is the book written by Robert Kiyosaki. It's typically like when you're starting on the self-help journey, typically that ends up being one of the very first books that you gravitate towards to get your finances in order. And we're not here to completely dunk on the book and say it doesn't have value or anything, but a lot of the stuff, especially in the self-help world, it relies on whatever the context is.
Right.
And so that's what we're talking about. But before we get too far into it, my name is Brian. I am a marketing consultant and a video coach. And basically, I want to teach y'all how to start recording yourself this year. And I got a couple of different frameworks that I use. If you're interested, go ahead and scan the QR code at the top of the screen and to get you started. And I'm also reopening my studio. And so I'm in the process of getting my beta clients together for that so that I can bring people in. And basically, you're getting coaching and videography work. So I'm going to coach you through the process, teach you how to record yourself, plus teach you the process of scripting things out and there with you every step of the way. So that's what you're getting. And initially it's going to be called the Media Room by ISO Words. I'm still working on getting my website and stuff ready to take on my first batch of clients, but I'm excited about that. And so you're going to start seeing more content from me out of that space too, as things get rolling and moving forward. And really, I just want to be your guide with that piece of it. So that's all I got. What you got, Fearless?
Basically, just your personal philosopher, helping you think differently and listening to what you got or whatever, and also listening to what you're not saying. So that's literally it.
All right, cool. So, last week, like I said, we were talking about some of the mythology around Rich Dad Poor Dad. We did establish that Rich Dad is kind of an amalgamation of different mentors that Mr. Kiyosaki had throughout the years. It wasn't just one person. It was a combination of people that he said he met along the way. And Poor Dad was a representation of his dad. And we just talked about some of the framing around equating money with, being poor as a moral failing and stuff along those lines. And so we're going to continue along those paths. And so I want to talk about some of how the mythology can be helpful, but also it can be damaging. And when we talk about mythology as a damaging device, the biggest example is, parables. You look at stuff in the Bible and things along those lines. A lot of times when people quote the Bible, they adjust the pieces to fit into a modern world, because if you don't, some of that stuff in there is can be kind of destructive in his phrasing. We're not going to get too far into it, but the reason why they make it adjust for the modern world is because some of the things that were socially acceptable were considered okay back back in the days, would not absolutely not fly in a modern society. And so there's elements of the mythology that work, and then there's elements of it that don't work, right? And Fearless, you probably could tell a little bit more about how you've seen, like, different things along the Bible or other mythologies being kind of used in a positive and a negative way.
Right. I was just watching can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was just watching this guy's oh my gosh, I was some type of, I think it was like Instagram, because that's where I watch a lot of videos on. But they were asking a question. I think I'm assuming it was a Muslim guy, but it was asking if the Quran was violent. And the guy said no. He said the Quran is not violent nor peaceful. He said the Quran is exactly what you bring to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same for any religious books. If you are a good person, noble steed and morality and ethics, and you want to help people, then that's what you're going to pull from the Bible or the things that, or the Quran, the things that you want to do to help other people, the things that you find morality in, and this and the other. That's the type of person that you're going to be or do. If you're an evil type of individual, if you're mean, if you're a violent type of person, just in general, that's what you're going to pull from the Bible. That's what you're going to pull from the Quran.
Right.
So, for the most part, majority of these religious texts are literally a mirror of who and what you already are.
Mm-hmm.
There are monks, Buddhist monks, who kill people. Like
Right.
Buddhism doesn't talk about that. Actually, there's a contrary to what they're talking about, respecting life. But there's some Buddhist monks who believe that in order to respect life, sometimes you have to take it in order to set everything right. So again, is the Bible a peaceful book? Is it a violent book? Yes, it's all those things.
Mm-hmm.
But it also depends on, again, the person who extracts the information, and what are you extracting it for?
Right. It's kind of like the entire thing about art, right? Like a
Mm,
lot of times art is what you're bringing to that art.
that's it.
And so you could see a piece of art as inspiring violence, or you can see it as reflecting the violence that's in the world.
Huh,
It really depends on what your frame of reference
that's
is and
it.
how you process stuff. And so, this episode is kind of about why people are cling to the mythology of the rich dad poor dad stuff so hard. The problem with it when it becomes a personality, and we talked about 48 laws of power becoming your personality. And I talked about if
Right.
you are the head cheese grater at Olive Garden, you playing Game of Thrones with the 48 laws of power probably is not going to benefit you in any measurable way. It's going to do more damage because it teaches you hard power instead of soft power,
Hmm.
um, and the soft skills that you need to ascend. We're going to talk about how negatively it can kind of turn into kind of a little bit of contemptuous of other people. That's one of the things I clocked when I first read it. Um, and why it can train people to misread the world. Again, it's all hypothetical. It can. And so the reason why I keep saying it can is because you have to keep perspective of this. And a lot of times when we find a book that changes our lives or changes our mode of thinking, we fully embrace it without adding any context or nuance to it. And then we end up being let down because we fully embrace this thing without adding nuance or contextual frames from our actual existence on a day-to-day basis. Um, and so that's what we're asking is, we're not saying the book is bad. We're saying keep a little bit of nuance and keep a little bit of perspective on it. Understand that it is a book and there's some elements that work, some elements that will not work, and you can't force those things to work. Okay. So one of my issues is I always have a hard time, and a lot of it probably comes with the way I grew up and a lot of the work I've done before I jumped into marketing. I worked with poor families. I worked with, kids that were coming from poverty and stuff like that. And so, anytime where I think something is 100% finding fault or blaming poor people for being poor 100%, or attributing, I'll say it like this, attributing poverty to being like this gigantic moral failing, um, I'm personally going to take an issue with it because there's so many factors in this world that are inside your control, but a lot that are outside of your control that can establish what your framework for money is in this world. And
Hmm.
so I don't really like, and I think there's some framing mechanisms in that book specifically where um, it basically is, it's kind of saying rich people are wide awake, poor people are asleep, employees are trapped, entrepreneurs are free. There's a lot of there are things that are presented that don't provide a layer of nuance, and maybe that's just a narrative device to get people hooked in. But um, if you're poor, um, you could always take personal accountability, right? Like Fearless, we talk about accountability all the time, being
Mm-hmm.
accountable for your shit. We talk about that all the time, right?
We tried, yeah.
But there's also a way where you can be over accountable. Does that make sense? Where you try to be accountable for things that are completely
Outside of your purview, outside of your control, yeah.
outside of your control, and that could be as damaging as not being accountable for your actions at
Mm-hmm.
all, because you're trying to impact things that you really have no power to impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, um, when we start framing, you know, poor people are universally this, and this is what's wrong with them, while rich people are this, and this is what's right with them. You're kind of creating this class system, this caste system within the framework of your book. Am I making sense? What do you
Yeah.
think on that, Fearless?
Um. Okay, so I need you to repeat that one more time because I get it, but I just want to make sure that I'm listening. So
I think
give it to me one more time.
I think what for me one of the problems with the framing mechanism of Rich Dad Poor Dad is it kind of creates a two-tiered caste system in the universe of that book,
Okay.
where rich people have all these great virtues and poor
Okay.
people
Yeah.
are just flawed and all this other stuff. I have a person, and that's a personal bias. Like that's a personal bias I had, and it's been one that I've had since I read the book in like 2003,
Okay.
right? Um, and so um, I don't like that kind of framing where inherently this group of people is good and virtuous and right, and that
Okay. I
group of
got
people
you.
is is completely wrong and everything. Especially when, and we gotta be honest, sometimes your there's things that are in your control in your financial situation, right? There are things that are completely outside of your control in your financial situation too.
Right.
And the secret is getting a hold and using and leveraging the things that you have control over and trying to minimize the damage that the things you don't have control over do. But when you're just
Mm.
saying rich people are this and poor people are this, I feel like um, that's over that I think that's oversimplification. And I think for the people that are looking to get help, that can absolutely put them in a bad headspace. I don't know.
Mm. Okay. So I think that a lot of that is based on I think I think that dichotomy is based on a couple different things because you can still be an employee.
Hmm.
Matter of fact, how about this? Let's look up real fast um, who the wealthiest employee is. Now, when I say employee, a football coach on one of those college teams is technically an employee,
Hmm.
right? Look to see what the highest paid football coach is.
I think it was for a while it was Nick Saban, I think, but he also
I I don't know. I'm just saying because I know that he's an employee.
I'll go with college football coaches.
No, that's what I'm saying. College, because they
So
actually make more than NFL do.
sometimes Kirby Smart, well, and they also have more power. So we might need to look at NFL coaches because college
Okay.
coaches, the framework in college coaches, if you're a successful college coach, you basically are run everything. And you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
look at Tom Osborne.
Yeah,
Yeah, yes, for
you
sure.
control aspect. You're basically the CEO of that football program.
Right. So therefore, here's the thing: is it a is he is it a business? Well, of course it is, but he is still technically an employee.
Hmm.
He is not self-employed. He is not a, he may be investing in this over here,
Hmm.
excuse me, but not his own money. It's
Okay.
somebody else's money.
So the highest paid NFL coach is my boy Andy Reid for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay.
Um, and he
He
has complete run of that football team, but he also is subservient to the Hunt family, Clark Hunt, who is the owner. Then
who actually owns it, right? So therefore, he is an employee,
yep.
right? So, but again, I would still go to college,
Hmm.
just in general, because they are real employees of the school for the most part, or whatever. Homeboy just works for that particular family, if that makes any sense.
I would say
Yeah,
this though,
go ahead.
because a college coach, you can absolutely enshrine yourself. Because Andy Reid is an anomaly; he's a long-term NFL coach. the previous long-term NFL coach was Mike Tomlin. He just got fired. And so what happens is, I think in college is slightly a little bit more forgiving, not much, but in the NFL, it takes like one or two bad seasons and they don't care what your record is. They packing you up.
Oh, okay.
Because
So, I mean, okay, so, but again, going back to what you were talking about, the
yeah,
dichotomy between rich and poor, from Robert Kiyosaki's standpoint, he says that you want to be in that four part. Could you pull up the 4-part quadrant right quick?
do we still
So
have it?
people can, it doesn't matter, just create this fine one. But so you want to have, he says that you want to be in the I, which is business and investment, as opposed to employee and self-employee. Okay. He wants everybody to try to move from over here to business and investment, which is fine if that's your thing.
Yeah.
If it's not your thing, then what? Or whatever. So again, a person could still be an employee and not necessarily want to be self-employed, not necessarily want to start their own business. Would you say old dude's name Mike Tomlin?
Yeah.
Okay, they don't have to start their own businesses. What's a homeboy from Tom Osborne? He didn't have to go start a business.
No,
So
he
a lot
runs
of these people, again, he runs.
he
A
runs
lot
the
of time,
state.
right? I mean, yes, for the most part.
Yeah.
But he himself, to my knowledge, and I could be wrong, does not own an actual business. For the most part, he is the business, but technically, he still works for somebody else. He is an employee, period. Now, if he got fired or he quit or whatever, he probably has enough money in his investment account
Mm-hmm.
to keep his lifestyle going just as it is. That man can miss a few. He could probably miss a year of paychecks. And probably wouldn't even miss it.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? So again, my guy made it. Robert Kiyosaki kind of made it where having being an employee is a shit job. It's not a good idea
Mm-hmm.
for the most part. It keeps you here as opposed to putting you over here. But again, you could still be an employee and still make investments. Like we talked about last week, you can be an employee and still make investments over here. Matter of fact, I'll give you an example. I'm self-employed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm self-employed. I'm self-employed, right? But I also have a business that doesn't really do anything. But every year I put money in an investment account every month. Excuse me. At the end of the year, that investment that I make every single month pays for the tax for my car and it pays for Christmas presents. I pull money out of that account on the usually November, no,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me, these November 15th or December 15th is usually when I put money out of that account, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I put $200 in that account every single month, right? So we're in the second month. This month it'll have $600 in that particular account, right?
Right.
Plus a little bit extra that it just kind of grabs whatever, right? I'm not saying that to brag. I'm telling you, I don't pay for Christmas gifts out of my pocket. I pay for them out of that investment that I make for the entire year.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been paying for I've been paying for Christmas gifts since December of last year. I will take it out in November or December this year to pay for my tags and Christmas gifts. So therefore, when people are like, man, I ain't got enough money, I prepare for this shit throughout the year. Throughout
Yeah,
the year. And again, my business doesn't take care of any of that. None of it. You see what I'm saying?
I see what
So
you're saying.
again, so I think that a lot of it literally has to deal with and has to do with the person within itself and what you're investing in. Because I have other accounts that I don't even touch at all. But that particular one, I always keep money in there. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, so again, that's what I do. Now, am I telling somebody else not to do that? Fuck no. You do whatever you want.
Right.
I'm just telling you that's what I do. So maybe to him, that that wouldn't work for him, but that works for myself.
Right.
I just again, not to brag by no means. Um, so we just made a pretty big purchase over the weekend, and my they had to do a credit check on me. I'm very close fisted about my credit. I don't like my credit being messed with. I don't
Right.
like people running my shit, this, that, and the other. So the deal was like, hey man, we need to run your credit. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. You'll run it right before I decide if I want to do this or not. Because if I don't want to do it, I'm not running anything. And
Right.
he's like, well, if we run it, then we'll at least understand where you are, what your credit looks like. I said my credit is in the 800s. Like
Hmm.
right now, my credit is perfect. So I don't need to worry about this and the other. I just need you to show me what the best deal that I can get for this and the other. And that man's sitting there trying to argue with me back and forth because he's used to dealing with people with piss poor credit.
Right.
And again, I don't blame him, but at the same time, I'm I also run off of the belief that you treat everybody like they got 800 credit
Right.
because eventually you're gonna run across a motherfucker that got that type of credit, and then you're gonna look foolish because
Right.
they were telling you the truth the whole time. Although understandably, I understand that if your credit sucks, you're gonna be around every Tom, Dick, and Harry that will try to sell you and tell you that, oh man, we can do this, that, and the other for you. And at the end of the day, Brian, they can't do shit
Right.
because your credit sucks. So it took a whole day. I told them, I'm like, hey, I want the deal at this, I want this, and I want that. And they're like, first off, we need to run your credit. I'm like, no, you don't. I'm like, these are the standards that I need. And they're telling me that first and foremost, you're gonna have. They were saying, I'm sorry, let me put this on. They were telling me first and foremost, you're gonna at the end of your this thing over here, you're gonna be paying more out over here in the long run than you're gonna be paying right now. I'm doing you a favor. I said first and foremost, let me explain something to you. I don't need you
Right.
whatsoever. Like I don't. And if it's the money situation, I'll figure that part out. Or whatever. So I'm good on that. Because I could pay that one thing and be done. Whereas this right here will be a continuous thing. This is the deal that I want. And either you guys could do it or you can't. And if
Right.
you can't do it, guess what? I was still fine before I walked in here.
I'll be fine on the way
Right.
out.
And I'll be fine on the way out. Right. And if y'all can't give me a deal I want, I'll get it from somebody else. Because you're not the only people who deal in this. Right. And so I told him, I said, call me back in an hour. You don't call me back. Right. So so,
You
so the
playing.
next so the next day, um, I set up an appointment. I go in, and they're like, I go in, and I'm like, the guy's like, he says to me, I shit you not. Yesterday I was desperate to make the deal. Today I'm not. So okay. And then I'm like, I don't think you understand. I don't give two shits. I can go home.
Right.
Like, I don't think you understand. Like I came here like because we number one set up the appointment, but I can go home. It's not that big of a deal.
Right.
And the guy's like, man, like I'm trying to do this for you, blah 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 blah. My girl's about to have, well, me and my wife about to have a kid, and I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, and I said to him, I shit you not, whatever you and your dick got going on, it got nothing to do with me, cousin. I don't care. Like, I'm not fucking your wife. You
Yeah.
are. So what does that have to do with me? It ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm saying you can leave that shit outside. I don't care. That's none of my business. My business is to get the best deal that I can get, and my business is to hold you to what you said you're gonna do. He
Right.
said, "Well, that's yesterday." I said, "So deals off then? You're not gonna give me what you said?" He said, "No, that was yesterday." I got up, shook his hand, grabbed my guy, and we walked out.
Mm-hmm.
That was that. And I went to, I took my guy to go grab something. Actually, no, we went to another place or whatever, and I showed the guy the paper. I'm saying, hey, can you guys match this? He's looking at it. He's like, we don't really have anything, but I'm sure we probably could. Now, my objective was to stay somewhere else
Right.
long enough. Why? Because I knew that that dude was going to call me back.
Yep.
So, sometimes you got to go, right? So I left. Guess what? Within 15 minutes, that guy calls me back. And it's like, hey, man, can you come back? I'm like, are we going to do the deal? I'm again, they still never ran my credit. And he's like, I'm like, he says to me, can you come back, please? I said, are we going to do the deal? Yes or no? Because if we're not doing the deal, I'm not coming back there. He said, yeah, man, we'll do the deal. Perfect. See you in 5 minutes. Went back, boom. Sat down. I'm like, all right, what's up? He said, all right, man. He said, dude, I shit you not. He said, man, you got to be like Igbo or are you from Africa? I'm like, no, I'm from here. He said, I've never seen anybody talk the way you do and do what you do. Not at all. And they took I'm like, so we're good? So we're good. Well, we'll do the deal. Perfect. Gave him my social, gave him my blah, 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 whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He walks out, right? It takes 5 minutes. He walks back in. After they see my credit score is 869. He says, now I understand why you are the way you are. He said, I see that every so often. But he said, now I understand why you're just more than okay to walk away from stuff.
Right.
Or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And guess what? From that point on, his whole attitude changed towards me. Because I wasn't just talking anymore. I could back up my stuff. But because here's the thing, whenever somebody run a credit check on you, they don't give two fucks about the last thing that you did. They don't care about this that, and the other. They don't care about your cousin who messed up your credit. You want to know what they care about? They care about that first, those first three numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, that first number. Is it a 3? Is it a 4? Is it a 5, 6, 7, or an 8? And the higher that number is, the more love they're gonna try to give you. Like,
So,
dead ass.
so I had a car dealer. The car I got, like my old beater, the car I have now, I've had this for over almost 12 years, right? When I first got this car, I literally walked in and said, this is the car I want. This is the color I want it in. This is the trim I want it in. I'm not going to pay more than this amount for it. Well, how you, just what it is, bro. I'm not doing all that stuff. Don't make me wait. Don't make me do the wait thing. I don't really want to drive. I don't want to do any of the other stuff. And actually it might have been the car right before this, but I brought a notebook and everything, was taking notes, and the dude's like, that's really intimidating that you take notes. Like, why is that intimidating? I take notes. And why is it intimidating that I told you what my number is and I'm not going to pay more for it?
Right.
Well, how can you determine that, bro? And after the fact, I was like, man, I already got the money secured for this, man. Like, I know exactly how much I'm going to spend on this.
Right.
He's like, well, I need to go talk to my finance guy. I said, why do you need to go talk to your finance guy? I already have the money here. Like, the money set aside. I already got my stuff pre-approved. Like, I had done something with the bank where I had a car totaled out. I already had money sitting on the sidelines. I was ready to update my car and stuff. I ain't doing all this stuff.
Right.
And a lot of times when people go into those kind of situations, um, they go in the situation, and this is kind of a pro tip. Even if you don't have the credit score, and even if you don't have the money, um, control the conversation,
Mm.
because that's all it is about narrative control. When you walk into that, when you sit in that
Mm-hmm.
seat, it's about gaining control of the situation. Walk in, know what your target is, know how much you want to spend on something. Don't let them pull out the little four square quadrant thing and do the funny math, because that's how they get you. um,
Mm-hmm.
Understand that when they give you a bottle of water, it's a reciprocity game, and they are essentially saying, by giving you a free bottle of water, we're hoping that you buy a $40,000 vehicle
Yeah,
from us
that
in
part.
exchange.
Yeah, that yes.
So don't accept
That,
anything. You
I mean,
know,
no, you can.
you
Just
can, but
understand,
understand what it
just
is.
understand what it is. That's all that is. Yeah.
And but you go in there, you control, and you don't have to be mean, you don't have to be anything like that, but just understand what your value is as a person first when you come in, and don't get sucked into a lot of the sideways stuff that they normally do. Like I said, I told the dude, matter of fact, this car, somebody else tried to buy my car, and he's like, oh, I'll get you a new car. I'm like, this car's paid off. I don't want a new car. I don't want a new car. No, why would I bought a new car? No, I done paid this car off. He's like, well,
Mm.
come on out. So I went out there, I sat down, and he had me test drive the car and everything. He's like, do you want to take it home? No, I don't want to take the car home, because it's like a puppy, right?
Right.
You buy, if you take the puppy home, you don't want to bring the puppy back. You
I will,
know,
because I don't like animals. But yeah, I hear.
you get used to seeing yourself and visualizing yourself and feeling yourself in that car. It's a psychological thing. I said, no, I won't take the car home, man. I got my video equipment in the back of the car, which I did. I had on my recording, like I had a tripod, some lights and stuff back there. Like, I'm not trying to empty out my trunk twice to drive this car home and stuff like that. And
Right.
I ended up saying, hey man, listen, you called me in here to make an offer for my car. I told you how much I was going to spend. You didn't value that. You didn't honor that. You're trying to change up things. You're trying to dictate stuff. I told you what my rules, expectation were, and you didn't. I'm out. I left. Now that one, he called me. I didn't go back because I'm like, I don't want a new car. I don't want a new car note anyway. Like, you're calling me. I don't want a new car note, but it's controlling the environment. And a lot of times, especially when you get into the car dealers, they flip that on you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole methodology and framework they
Oh
use.
yeah, for sure.
And I think
For sure.
it sounds like your guy was maybe trying to dig into some similar bags of tricks to get you to
I
commit.
mean, and trying to, and again, I don't blame him. And again, like so, I'll tell you like this: like, if you when you buy a Tesla, the experience with a Tesla and the experience with other vehicles are totally different.
Hmm.
Like, matter of fact, it's to the point where to me it's so bad that I I don't know if I, I was looking at a truck, uh,
Hmm.
and I'm like, man, because I'm not gonna watch you. I kind of need something that's gonna, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm kind of needing something, right? Um, but anyway, when I bought my Tesla, the thing I love about it is they tell you exactly how much they'll give you for your car. Like, there is no negotiation. They'll tell you what they'll give you.
Right.
Um, you do everything on an app, right? That app, dead ass, takes about 15 minutes, if that, right?
Right.
Your funding is done, everything's done within 15 minutes, literally. When you go buy your car, when you go pick up your Tesla, because they associate your VIN number to
Hmm.
your name. So when you build your trim out, you build your car specifically for what you want.
Right.
Your bank or whomever approves it, right? And then you're done. When you go take ownership of the car, they tell you go outside, go around, go look at your car, make sure everything's okay before you take possession. Right? You do that. There's a whole entire checklist or whatever that you do. You go in, you're there for maybe 20, 30 minutes, if that.
Right.
If that. And that's if there's a line. You're in there for just a couple minutes. You're signing off that you took ownership, and then you're done. So all together, you're buying, you're buying, you're buying and selling experience with Tesla is 45 minutes for the whole entire process. And I mean the process from start to the time that you took ownership of the car. 45 minutes.
Yeah.
45. That's it. That is the reason that I love buying from them. You can hate Elon all you like, but they streamline their service so well that I don't have to think about, I don't have to worry about sitting there talking to a car salesman. And again, even when you buy a Tesla, they don't make any commission off of that.
Right.
Right? They talk to you about the experience. They tell you about the car. They go for a test drive with you if you want them to. But it's your personal experience. And they want to know about it when you come back. Right?
Right.
So and that's literally it. And when you I think that the reason why Tesla is so disruptive to the car industry in general is because they took the third man shit out of it.
Right.
So you don't have to deal with some pushy ass person. Here's the thing: when you put in that app to get your car, you either got the credit or you don't. You either got the cash or you don't. There is no let me go call this person. When I was at said dealership, there was a lady that had been in there for she'd been in there for 4 days.
Oh my God.
4 days trying to find somebody to co-sign a car for her. They said that they went through 30 different people. 30.
That's crazy.
30 different people. That 30 different individuals. There was another person in there that I talked to. He said that there was a guy who walked in, his credit score was 380. 380. I'm like, did the man at least have any cash down? He said, no, he did not. Nothing. So, again, I'm not necessarily but again, so if I were running a class on how do you get a credit score of 800 or over 800? You know what the secret is to a score of, again, like I told you, there's a multitude of different scores. So it's not just one score.
Right.
My auto score is 869. Now, if I wanted a mortgage, that would be like maybe 815 or something like that.
Right.
So everything had a credit card. It's the same exact way. So no credit score is going to be the same, number one.
Right.
Number two, your credit score, if you want an 800 credit score, first and foremost, you need to be in good debt, I would say, for at least 3 years. So I had 3 brand new cars that I was paying the notes on for all of them for at least 3 years. So that shot me from like 6 to like mid 7.
Okay.
Then I went and I hired a credit repair company to go in and get everything that's not there needed necessarily there to get knocked off. You keep them for at least a year. At least a year. Most people get rid of them faster because they're not seeing results. The one thing that I understood that the guy told me was that if there's something on your credit, you respond to them. They have like 60 to 90 days to respond back. Think about that. So if you got 4 or 5 different things on there or whatever, that's 4 or 5 different letters, and you gotta wait for each one of them to come back. They have all that time to respond back to you. Okay,
Right.
that's two. Number three, the biggest secret of having a credit score of over 800: pay your fucking bills on time. That's it. That's it. Pay your bills on time. There's nothing more than that. I would love to sit here and tell you that, oh my God, like there's some deep, dark Indiana Jones secret. Is fucking not. Pay your bills. And it also depends on who you're who you're paying. So if you
Right.
buy a car from a buy here, pay here, I don't know if that's gonna do anything for your credit. But you might want to use maybe self lender or something like that. That'll help your credit out. I use Credit Karma for Credit Karma is good when you're starting out, when you need to understand what your credit looks like or whatever, right? Credit Karma is great for that.
Mm,
Credit Karma is, but it's an estimate because they use Vantage Point, I think 3 or 4. You want to have a Vantage Point of like an 8. Like, so my FICO tells you exactly what your credit is in real time. So
right.
it'll tell me that mine is 830, right? That's literally because I just checked it. And check your stuff period constantly. On Credit Karma, it says to my stuff is 790. So that's a 30-point differential. So they can go either up or go down. So when people say, oh man, I just checked my Credit Karma to see my credit, I can guarantee you that's usually not where your credit is. So if you're not paying for it, or your Vantage Point is not at least, I would say at least 6 or higher, you're gambling
Right.
or whatever. But again, I turned this whole entire thing into a bitch session. But my point is very simple. People consistently keep trying to tell you and sell you on these secrets of success. It's not a fucking secret. Pay your bills.
Yeah.
It's not a secret. Pay your bills and pay your bills on time. That's it. And another thing that the credit people told me, because I think I had one credit card at the time. That's another great thing that Credit Karma does, is it tells you which credit cards you would probably get approved for. I would tell you if you're just starting off, grab a couple or whatever,
Mhm.
because your credit score is already going to suck anyway. Grab a couple and just keep them. I still have the same ones that I had when I started off, and I have American Express and all that shit. I never fucking use the goddamn thing.
So,
I check it out all the time, but I never really use it.
so okay. In
But
this
again,
vein,
and I'm just saying I'm just throwing this out here. Not, and again, it's not to be a bragger by no means. It's just literally telling you that when I started this whole process, I literally found out about how credit works. I would say probably 6 years ago. I'm 47. So I was in my early 40s when I understood how credit worked. My credit was like at like high fives, low six.
mhm,
So again, when I'm not telling you that, oh, I just knew this. No, I fucking found out because I was messing with my lady at the time, and she had great fucking credit. Her credit was like 700,
mhm,
and I'd asked her, I'm like someone asked you about credit. I'm like, can you teach me how to build credit? She thought I was gonna ask her, hey, can you co-sign something? I'm like, I don't get down like that.
right.
I can do it myself. So I'm like, can you teach me how to build my credit up? Because nobody had ever taught me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And she told me exactly what to do, and I did exactly what she said. And I think my credit score is higher than hers now.
So here's the thing in the same vein. So I use
Right.
myself as an example. So what I use is a system called Profit First, and they have an entire bank system. They have their own affiliated bank that they use as an online bank or whatnot. But
Okay.
essentially, what this is um, you when you is a bit is for business owners, but you can apply it to your personal life too. So I'm gonna tell you how I've done how I kind of structure with my business. So I got 5 different accounts and one savings account, right? All right.
Okay.
And so when money comes in, I have my allocation set up. And these are hypothetical numbers. So and this number is probably going to go up, but it may be profit is 5%. That's what I pay myself first. Typically my profit's higher since I have less overhead. Um, owner pay. This is going to be like my weekly check, right? So the profits end of the quarter. Owner pay is what you get paid per week or per month or however you set it up. Okay. And that goes around 40%. These are hypothetical numbers, right?
Okay.
Tax is 15%. Um, Operating expenses, this is what it takes to run your business, is however much. And then you could set aside an allocation specifically for savings. So let's say operating expenses 35%. Um, 5% goes into savings, right? So on the 10th and 22nd of each month, I take whatever is in that main account because there's one account that captures all the money. And typically I'll call that my income account. And then on 10th and 25th, I go and do my allocations. I make sure that I pay myself first with the profit side of it. Make sure that I have my owner's pay taken care of. Make sure the taxes are taken care of. And make sure the operating expenses are taken care of. What that does is it allows you to see your operating expenses and say, okay, this is what I need to correct on my operating expenses, because the game is to try to get your operating expenses running as cheaply as possible without degrading the service of your business. And it's a nice little system. It's kind of buoyed me, and it gets me into the idea of, and Fearless can speak to it too, the idea of paying yourself first before you start making all your other allocations and commitments and everything. And so
Yeah.
there's an entire framework
You pay yourself. So you pay yourself 5%.
No, it's more than 5%. But mine is going to be personally more than 5%. I'm just going based on what's on the internet in terms
Okay.
of, but but I'm paying but understand, even if it was just 5%, I'm paying myself twice. So I'm paying my profit, which is my quarterly distribution, and then I'm paying my owner's compensation, which is my monthly paycheck. And so it's going to be the combination of those two numbers is what you're paying yourself. And if you do it in a quarterly distribution, you can avoid a lot of tax headaches because you can say this is almost like your bonus that you're giving yourself.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like now, I try my best to pay myself anywhere between 20 and 30%.
Yep.
Like as soon as so again, and what does that mean? That basically means that if I get if let's say I get $100, 20 or $30 comes off the top. That's my money. The rest of that 70 or 80% I will put towards whatever. So if somebody needs to borrow something, that's where that money goes. If I need to pay something, that comes from that money. That 20 to 30% is mine. That shit is mine.
And so
I pay me first, period. I don't give a shit to Uncle Sam. I take my money first. You can have whatever's left over.
And so when I'm looking at the numbers I just read off, so essentially between profit and owner pay, the profit is a quarterly distribution. Owner pay is what you're paying yourself periodically, consistently. That's 45% of what you're bringing in. So you're giving yourself cash infusions every how many quarters? Every
quarters.
Every like 90 days or something like that.
Yep.
You're giving yourself cash infusions. You're giving yourself bonus every 90 days for doing business. And by doing that and making sure everything's structured out, when the tax bill comes around, you're kind of overpaying on the taxes, but then at the same time, whatever doesn't cover your tax bill could either stay in there to cover any weird tax expenses, or you could put it back into your profit at the end of the quarter. And that's another little bonus that you make for yourself for getting your tax bill down. And so there's all kinds of systems in place for you to do this. But the thing I think I got to emphasize is you're not a bad person for not knowing this.
No, not at all. Not at all. I told you I didn't find out until I was like in my 40s.
Right.
About how credit worked. Like, fuck, I didn't know. Well, and I paid everything in cash, everything.
And I think that's part of, like, when we're talking about the Rich Dad Poor Dad framework, at some points it feels like, yeah, these poor people are kind of dumb, or they don't know what they're talking about, or they're blind to the word. Here's the thing: I can be aware of things that I can know things that I'm aware of, but if I'm not aware of a system like Profit First, but nobody told me that existed, I had to go out and find it. If I wasn't aware of this thing existing, I would still be doing things a different way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the underlying message of it all is, you know, yes, there's a level of accountability in your life for your outcomes, right? But there are also outcomes that you face that don't have anything to do with you, don't have anything to do with you personally. You know, it could be any number of environmental factors. I know some people that never grew up with any kind of money, and so the frameworks that they build as an adult are the things that they're able to cobble together. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there are people that might have a sick parent. You might have a sick child, and that ends up being a drain on your money. You don't have any control over that stuff. And so when because here's the thing, and Fearless, you can tell me I'm wrong. There are a lot of rich people that aren't the brightest or aren't the smartest or aren't
Mm-hmm.
anything. They're just rich. They fell into a secret money glitch. Sometimes they inherited a bunch of money or whatever, and they just got it. It doesn't mean that they're smarter than you. It just means that they have something that you don't have.
Right.
And in some cases, given the same set of circumstances, if they were put in your set of circumstances, they would probably have the same outcomes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they had something fortunate happen. I've met rich. I went to college with kids that just had their parents just had money. You know what I'm saying? And that was just it. And as adults, they ended up having money because that's just how it rolled. It's not always something that's within your control on either side of it.
Right.
But I think it is about maximizing the things that are in your control and try to minimize the things that are outside of your control. Okay.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And so the idea employees are trapped, entrepreneurs are free. I know a lot of entrepreneurs are trapped by their businesses. I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that are 100% trapped by their businesses, and they're not even in employee mode. They are trapped by their businesses. Um, you know,
Nah,
secure.
yeah, for sure.
The idea is security is a weakness, risk is a virtue. I would opt for security more than anything else, but I also have a high risk tolerance for stuff. And Fearless can tell you that my risk tolerance is crazy sometimes. um, so what we're saying is this: one of the heuristics that if you just frame your entire life by Rich Dad Poor Dad, one of the heuristics you're left with is you have a very simple framework on how you view people with money and equate moral achievements or moral failings to their bank account. And that's not a way to run, because invariably, if you're doing it for yourself to get yourself out of a situation, you're going to have a very negative opinion of yourself going into it. And so that's not always what it is.
Right.
The idea that wealth becomes proof of enlightenment, um, I don't. Mm, like I said, the way that, and my notes are saying, it ends up becoming economic Calvinism, if you will, if you don't add nuance to it, right? If you don't add nuance to it, it becomes less financial literacy and more like the survival of the fittest kind of thing. And the people that don't have deserve not to have. And that's not a way that you want to operate, because I don't know if I don't know if it applies anymore, because there are people that are so rich that they'll never be able to lose all of their money. Like right now, there are people out there that have so much money that they're never going to be able to lose. If they wanted to lose all of it, they couldn't lose all of it, right? But this idea that um, you deserve the hard life that you have. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I get it, I understand, and I'm big about accountability for outcomes. I always talk about it, but I've worked with people where their experience, the fact that they were still alive, was a triumph.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that they had survived up until that point based on the things that had happened in their lives, because I'm talking about people that have overcome amazing things. Fearless, you've overcome amazing things, right? But you know what I'm talking about. When, like, the fact that you're still here is a triumph. Let's celebrate that first, and then figure out how to start rebuilding the castle based on that, right? I don't know.
No, I get it. No, I totally understand that. I was looking at I was looking at the 5 points of Calvinism,
Mm-hmm.
like total depravity, unconditional election,
Mm-hmm.
limited atonement, irresistible grace, perseverance of the saints. Like, good God. And
Right.
they're doing, I mean, and again, a lot of these guys literally, I can believe that. Like, they were not playing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, either way, though, man. So, what's the next thing on it?
So let's go ahead. We could talk about some of the reasons why the book appeals to people, because there's very specific reasons why the book appeals to people. Right. Right. Um, it does point out the fact that there is a differential system. Like, the system is not fair. It's not based on fairness. Whatever economic system you're working in, it's never based on fairness. It's a big bank. It's big bank take little bank kind of thing, right?
Sure.
Um, and it is inherently unfair. And so the Rich Dad Poor Dad book does teach you how to play in the mud a little bit, you know, and step onto the board, understanding that the game is rigged. And the rule is, you got to you have to find what your point of leverage is and lean into that to get what you need. The,
Yeah, yeah, and I also think, though, too, though, that I think a lot of people think that in order to be wealthy, here's the thing. I think that when you know what you're good at, when you know that what just works for you, I think if you did that, you'll be fine.
mm-hmm,
Personally, I, somebody else may totally disagree, but not everything is not everything is black and white neither. I do think that there's that gray area
right.
that a lot of us find ourselves in, where you know, like for myself, like I don't like reading. Like, I love to read,
Right.
right? But I love to learn in general, and I love being around other people who feel the same way. The one, so again, I was just telling you about going to school right now, and then several of the professors, they want their papers a particular way, as
Right.
opposed to APA style, and then MLA and this that, and the other, right? And you, and then now I'm getting into citing and like how do you cite stuff or whatever. And I like the citing thing because it lets you know, it puts back into perspective where people get their information from. And that's one of the things that I'm really starting to ask is like, all right, cool. Where did you get this information? So now if I see something that says like, like Rogers, comma 333, I know that that's, it's somebody named Rogers, blah, 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 blah. And if I look down somewhere, I'm going to see the whole reference or the work citing of
Mm-hmm,
whatever that thing is, right?
right.
And again, I didn't know what a lot of that stuff was. I didn't know that you can go in and research whatever a person was talking about. I thought that you just, that, oh yeah, such and such talked about this and the other. I didn't understand that I can reference this person because they've already done all the research.
Mm-hmm,
So whenever you're reading these self-help books or whatever, you're assuming that these people have already done all the research, so you're good to go. Just learn off what they're teaching and keep going from there. But here's the thing: when if it's not that simple? When if you don't want to do real estate? When if you really don't want to be an investment guru? When if you don't want to do public speaking? When if you just want to sit at home and fucking read books? Well, what
mm-hmm.
about that? Now, I'm not saying that you can't generate an income off of that, but what if that's your thing? What if your thing doesn't necessarily include being around or entertaining a fuckload of people who don't give two shits about, what you read or why you're doing what you're doing? So I understand what you're saying though, Brian.
Well,
But
well,
that's the shit that's being sold to us.
mm-hmm. Well, and I think there's so late. Like, the thing is, there's so many kernels of truth. Like I said, the system
Go
is
ahead.
the system's unfair, wages are stagnant, housing is completely broken, and the middle class is shrinking. All these things are true, right? And so when bro comes in and says, I have all your solutions, your school lied to you, jobs are traps, and rich play a different game, those are true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's a matter of, because I always go back to, I don't know if it's a matter of I don't know if it's a matter of the individual teachers lying to you. The teachers I know are
No,
absolutely.
I don't think so. I think it's the system
I
within
think it's
itself.
it's the
It's the
system.
system within
It's
itself.
this framework of the system, and more times than not, the framework of the school system that you're operating in also depends on who's the leadership of your state, because they end up determining what the policies are for the school district. And so you need to look up the ladder to see who's determining it and how they're setting the kids up for success. Are they trying
Well,
to create,
or failure.
yeah, are they trying to create leaders and captains of industries, or are they trying to create good employees who are
Yeah.
dependent upon them? So you got to think about that. I was always leery. I'm gonna tell you this. I did group homework for a long time, and I was always really, and I always had a criticism of my workers that used to tell kids this. Well, if you were working at McDonald's and I came in and you were doing X, Y, and Z, I'd fire you on the spot. I don't want to tell my kids that they would be workers at McDonald's. I don't want to use that as the example that they would have to aspire to, because they could be so much more. Why anchor them to that? Now you could teach them about how to be somebody's employee and how to keep a job, but don't say, well, if you were fry cooking at McDonald's, you're anchoring them to that. And saying emotionally, psychologically, in my mind, that was anchoring them to something different than what they could be. The kids that I've had where everybody kind of given up on them are absolutely achieving great things. And I would just used to say, a kid's too damn stubborn to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're going to fall down and hit their ass a couple of times, and they're going to get back up, and they're going to go fight for it. But I didn't necessarily,
at least you hope so.
yeah, I didn't put that. I didn't say, well, if you were working at McDonald's and you're throwing burgers at each other, I'd fight. No. Let's not use that as the example. Let's use another context, another framework. Okay. You can even use you. If I came in and Mr. Bryan saw me doing X, Y, and Z, he'd instantly write me up and I would have a problem. Then that would go on my record and go into my pay and everything. Use yourself as an example. Don't McDonald. That's just a personal pet peeve. So, dude is attacking real pain points. Okay.
I mean, yeah, but that's his job, though.
Yeah. The
But
problem
yeah,
is
that's his job.
the problem is it's the way he kind of turns it, because there's a turn of phrase, right? So he turns the structural harm into he shifts it into where it's kind of your fault a little bit, like, and so that's what I'm going into. So he takes I'm being squeezed by a broken economy and replaces it with you're poor because you don't think right. Right?
Is that what he said specifically?
You're poor because you think wrong. You're not viewing the world the right way. Is a context to what he's saying. When you talk about, this is what the rich people know and this is what the poor people know, I understand that. You can share it and say these are some of the things that rich people do, but to say this is why you're poor, I don't know, because there's so many different factors on that determine somebody's economic standing in the world.
So now we're basically into the comparison trap.
Yeah, it's like, well, you're poor because of this, and they're rich because of this. Well, they're not rich because of what you said all the time. They may be rich because they had a rich dad who died and gave them a big pile of money.
Right.
So that kind of one-to-one thinking.
Which I know somebody that literally happened to her. Somebody in her family just passed, and she's now a millionaire.
Wow.
Like within the last couple weeks. Damn, no joke.
And so when you apply that kind of framework, we're saying, well, this is why she's rich. Well, it doesn't apply cleanly to her.
And she just bought a house, which she was already living in one, but she's selling this one to go buy another one or whatever with the money that she's getting. So again, I mean, and like I try to tell people all the time, however you are in one situation, it's how you're going to be in other situations. If you are a giving, amazing individual, when you're broke, that's exactly what you're going to be like when you got money.
Right.
If you're stingy as fuck and all you think about is yourself, When you're poor, guess what you're gonna be stingy as fucking only think about yourself when you got money too.
Right. It's not
And
going to switch.
it's not gonna switch. And like that's the one thing I would tell my friend all the time, like, dude, I can't wait to see, and this is before she got this. I'm like, I can't wait to see what happens when you get money. Because you'll start to see what I'm talking about. Once you done bought everything, you're still stuck with you.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So if people fuck with you, they fuck with you. If they don't, then they don't.
Well, and I go to it like, what is it? They say adversity introduces man to themselves. Well,
Mm-hmm.
so does success.
That was James Allen.
Yep.
Yes.
Success introduces man to themselves as well. Because you get highly successful and you think, oh, well, I'm gonna be a lot more charitable. I'm gonna give away all my money and all, I'm gonna support all these causes. No, you're not. That's why you get people that are already on their way to being trillionaires who just want more and more and more and more and more and more. Because that just becomes the personality. If that was already what you were driven to do. Now, if you were already driven to be a charitable and giving person, that money is going, you're going to still be that same person. It's not going to alter you in any way, shape, or form,
Mm-hmm.
And so, well, and it may alter your perspective on things, but it may not alter you fundamentally as a human being, is what I'm
Correct.
saying.
I got
And
you.
so money's going to only accelerate your bad habits. I remember very clearly, you know, and I don't really mess with Dana White from the UFC on a lot of things. I don't agree with him on a ton of shit, right? Like pretty much anything. But he did say one thing that made sense to me. He was talking about, and this is back in the days when you had John Jones. And John Jones was like this luminary fighter. He was like this transcendent kind of fighter. He was just kind of a prodigy in everything that he tried to do. And he's also super young. Came into the game
Uh-huh.
super young. And Dana White basically said, you cannot bring a kid out to Vegas and give them a couple of $1,000,000. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
Because instantly the impulses, the worst instincts are going to take over. They're going to have money to fund every bad instinct that they have ever had.
Right.
And he was talking about, because John Jones dealt with his drug use and all kinds of other stuff that he was going through in very public ways, and almost wrecked his career a couple of different times.
Right.
Because he was super young. He's like, you cannot be a young millionaire in this city where you're just getting
And not
introduced
only
to money.
right, and not only that, but a young millionaire who can fight, who got hands too.
Yeah.
Like that's a terrible man, because you say the wrong thing to bro, and then that's that.
Well, and I look at it like this, because I look at the Raiders moved to Vegas, and a lot of those players are in that situation. This is the first time they've ever had money in their lives, and you're living in Las Vegas.
That never sleeps.
Yeah,
At least in California, everything's shut down around 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
go get you a house in New Mexico and fly into work.
Yeah, that part.
Go get you a house in
That
Utah and fly in, because you don't want to be that you don't want to be that's your first exposure to money
Or,
in that
or, or
environment.
oddly enough, I don't know if it's possible, but find yourself an Amish group. See if you can go hang out with them.
Find somewhere that
Find somewhere. Go ahead, though. Go.
Find somewhere to not be young and rich with your first bit of money in Las Vegas, because it's a different environment. It's a different thing. And that's what Dana White said. He's like, you can't just be like, because basically he said money turns you into the kind of asshole you always were. Right.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
And that's what he was talking about with John Jones specifically. It's like, he had this big pocket of money. He is a kid essentially in Las Vegas with millions of dollars in his pocket. And even though his brothers played in the NFL, that still doesn't necessarily prepare you for that life.
No.
And so,
No. I've been teaching my son how to save money since he was a youngin. He's going to be 14 years old in July.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, he won't save shit.
Let's see.
Like, so I have to so I give him money, but then the app that I have, it's called Green
Light. We got it too.
Green Light. And it automatically puts a certain portion of that money that I give him off to the side. So he can see how much money he already has that is built over time.
Mm-hmm.
But it pays himself first, then it gives him the money.
So
yeah, I get it.
My little boy, my 14-year-old, he actually has he started out his own business, basically selling monsters and other related snacks at school. And
Okay.
so every week we got to take him to the store so he can get his product or whatnot. And I've worked with him to figure out how much of profit margin he needs to make and stuff like that to determine what his prices are. And so he just sells monsters and ramen noodles and whatever else the kids buy at school, because sometimes kids don't eat lunch.
Was he in jail or something?
Huh? No.
What?
Yeah.
This is at
Huh?
high school?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Sometimes the kids don't want to eat what's on the menu, or sometimes they'll get hungry between days, or if they can't leave campus to go over to the coffee shop, they'll drink energy drinks and stuff like that. And so he just provides, the stuff that they may want. And he's he's got a little cash flow for himself, and he's gonna ride it until they shut it down. Like, But I was doing the same thing when I was in 5th grade. Like, I'll go to the 99-cent store, load up on candy, and then be selling it out of my locker.
I did that with cheeseburgers when I worked at Burger King at North. I was selling cheeseburgers.
So it's a good thing to have that entrepreneurial drive, but also that's not the only determining factor of your success. And so
Right.
I think what happens is, and this is not just a Robert Kiyosaki thing, this is a social media thing. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Or actually self-help industry.
The self-help industry.
But now that you can see it on social media as opposed to reading it, because most people buy a book and don't ever read the shit.
Yeah.
They just got it because they got it. You know what I'm saying? But they rarely ever sit down and read like this shit. Fucking who's this Bukowski? Like, even when I started school, this is one of the books that I grabbed, College Acts, which I learned a lot of weird shit.
Yeah.
And that or whatever. But like, yeah.
Well, and it kind of turns into this thing where people like look on social media and they stop. Like, for me, happiness is I'm able to pay my mortgage. I'm able to have a car that I don't have to worry about breaking down. Take my kids on vacation every once in a while, and we don't have to fight. We don't have to like struggle between paychecks, right? That's perfect for me. And then whatever I make is icing on the cake. A lot of people aren't happy with just the life where they have their needs met and are comfortable. And a lot of it is a mechanism of social media. And here's the thing. So here's a reality. A lot of times y'all log on to Instagram and you see that dude or that lady that's always on vacation. They're always in some exotic locale or whatnot, and they always taking pictures, and you're sitting there like, damn, I want their life, right?
Right.
You don't know that their life involves their entire check went to that travel thing, and so they couch or they on couches and stuff when they come back to the States, right? Their entire life is funding these things. And there are influencers that live like that, right? Like they get out there and yes, they get a lot of viewers and stuff. People watch them for that. But one, they don't have a business model underneath it to monetize the views. And two, that's all they have. And so their money goes into funding this image that they put on social media. There's a lot of cats you talk to, a lot of dudes on YouTube and say, I go to these YouTube conferences where they have these creators and influencers in YouTube. A lot of these creators are broke. Like, they barely making money. They barely got to Vegas. And they have millions and millions of followers, but they sell you the image like they got all this money and they got all this stuff going on. And so that ends up becoming this fiction, and that part of the book is this narrative fiction where you're never satisfied with things being okay. Bill Withers said, "It's all great. It's wonderful to head out. And I'm paraphrasing. It's great to is fantastic to want to head to wonderful, but sometimes you got to stop and enjoy good enough, because sometimes that's as good as it's gonna get, and that's good enough. So you may want to head to wonderful, but sometimes you need to enjoy getting used to enjoy. This is good enough.
You know what? And that's actually one of the things that my mentor at school was saying too, man. He had told me, he said, man, he said, most of y'all, you want 100% paper. He said, man, sometimes turn it in at 80%. I mean, dude, like he said, there's gonna be some people that are just A students in general. For me, I just want to make sure I got my thoughts down, got my stuff in, this, that, and the other. Am I cool on this? And if it looks good enough, I send it in.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of all the other shit, I just make sure that I hit the spell checker. I run it through a Grammarly, make sure everything's okay for the most part. Run it through this AI thing that I got to make sure that the thing doesn't detect that I'm using AI and shit.
Yeah.
And then I submit my assignments. I do not sit around waiting for stuff. And so, no, I feel you. I don't wait till it's 100% because it's never going to come out. I make sure that it's at least 70.
Right.
Think about that 70-30. So then that gives me more time to fuck up, and that gives me more time, ample opportunities to get better.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So again, if it's at least 70%, put it out. I wouldn't even wait to 80. Put that shit out at 70.
Mm-hmm.
Put it out at 70. When I bought my car, my car today does. I've had my car since 2002. My car now, same car, does more now than it does when I bought it. You know what I'm saying? Think about your phone. When you get your phone, those updates better your phone, don't they?
Yep.
I mean, for the most part. So if you think about it, they sold you a defective product. They sold you a defective product that consistently gets better with time.
Right.
And then what happens? It reaches its peak, and then it starts to go down, go down, go down, go down, go down. So the fact that every 5 years or so you have to go buy a new phone.
You got to upgrade it.
You gotta upgrade it.
Well, and so to get the quote right, Bill Withers said, "It's okay to head out for wonderful, but on your way to wonderful, you're going to have to pass through all right. And when we get to all right, take a look around and get used to it, because that may be as far as you're going to go."
Oh man, I love it. You gotta text me that.
All right.
And text me the citation of where you got it to, please.
You
You see how I just said that? Text me the citation of where you got that. I don't just want to know the quote. I want to know specifically where it came from.
I can cite it off the top of my head. There's a movie that he did. There's a documentary called Still Bill. And it's him talking, it's him kind of explaining, because his daughter's a musician too. And she's trying to follow in his footsteps. And that's what he told her. Basically, you know, it's great to try to aspire to where I want to be. I want you to do that. But sometimes good enough is good enough. All right is good enough. And that may be as far as you're going to go.
Oh, wow.
And so,
I mean, yeah, this movie been out for a minute.
Yeah, I saw this a long time ago. Before he passed. But
yeah, this has been out since 1990. No, excuse me, 2009.
Yep. And so, and it was kind of a formative thing, because he had one of those gifts of taking very complex thoughts and simplifying them.
I love that.
And he was kind of a philosopher with it. When you listen to him talk about his career and everything, and his creative process and everything, he never thought he was like this amazing singer or anything. He's like, I'm just telling my story, more or less. So the idea is, the hustle trap thing is where you start eschewing or giving up stability for this upside of risk, without understanding that sometimes stability is better than anything you can get through the upside risk. And you can overshoot your goals really quick, especially if it's just fixating on what people are doing on social media, because there's always somebody driving a bigger car or a better car. There's always somebody in a bigger house. There's always somebody jet setting in a place that you'll never touch down on. Never. And it's one thing if that's what you actually really, really want. But if that's not what you want, you just want it because you see them having it. That's the trap that you get sucked into. Right. And so when we start rejecting the idea of being stable, rejecting the idea of doing the labor and actually putting in the work to get the thing, you know, I'm not saying labor has to be your endpoint, but the idea of, I always talk about win without competing. You want a shortcut to the victory without having to put in the work. Okay. Yeah. And I think what happens is people get ashamed of living that normal life. And maybe that was one of my, and I'm biased. Like I said, that was one of my takeaways from the book, where even back then, I'm like, okay, I have a good job. I have money to invest. I got an apartment in a nice part of town with my fiance at the time, now my wife. I got a good car. I don't really want for anything else. Like, and instantly I read the book and I'm like, damn, I need to want for more. I need to get out here and get more. And I wasn't like, I look back on it like I didn't really need much more than that. But it
Yeah.
put me on this path where I started trying to achieve things for the sake of saying that I achieved them. And
Right.
even in hindsight, I look back on it like, yeah, I went back, I got my degree, I moved up the ladder and everything. I got my degree and then took my promotion, what I considered my promotion, and I was making less than when I before I had. I was making less in the new role. And it took me years to catch up to what I had been making prior to taking that move, which is
Mhm.
crazy. But it put me on this pathway where I was like, okay, I got to achieve, and started climbing this ladder and chasing these rings. And by the time I was 36, I was at the top of my field,
Hmm.
literally a couple of seats away from, CEO executive level kind of stuff.
Right.
I was a director and stuff. And I had accomplished everything that I had set out to accomplish. And the feeling was empty.
Oh, yeah.
It was empty. And a lot of it had to come with a lot of the self-help stuff I read in the years when I was younger, in my 20s and stuff.
Hmm.
It made me not satisfied with a pretty good life that I had.
Hmm.
And I also wonder if I hadn't been chasing, because I always thought like, oh, I got to climb this ladder, I got to do X, Y, and Z, I got to move up the ladder and get the money and get the bag and get the bigger name, get the bigger office and stuff like that. It took me out of writing. It took me out of creating because I had a novel that I hadn't finished because I didn't think it was important. Um, it took me out of a lot of things I was playing around on the business venture side, the stuff I actually enjoyed doing. It set me back in terms of getting back in front of audio and visual cameras and recording and stuff. Like, it took me out of a lot of things that actually bring me life right now.
Hmm.
And um, I look back on it, look on my self help phase, because I got this in my head that what I was doing was not good enough.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it's kind of a telling thing because a lot, like, people that have that kind of money, right?
Hmm.
And a lot of people that have that money and they're not necessarily it didn't make them happy.
Hmm.
Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, no, that's exactly what happened to me years ago, man. I built the company and it didn't take long. Took I think a couple years. Company became a $1 million company, and by the time I realized it, I'm like, man. And then I started having this success remorse or survival's guilt or success
Mm-hmm.
guilt because a buddy of mine, man, one of the guys who kind of got me involved in making reading a lifelong journey and adventure. He was going through a horrible divorce, about to
Mm-hmm.
lose his kids and all kind of other shit. And I'm sitting up here winning awards and making, I think at that time it was like $6,000 a month, which I had never seen money like that before. Like
Mm-hmm.
now, whatever. But like I had never seen anything like that. To kind of be able to come and go as I please, to do what I want, to have my own everything for the most part. And I mean, I did have anxiety. I was depressed a little bit and shit,
Mm-hmm.
and going through some stuff or whatever. But it was mine, and I can manage that. But feeling that sense of success guilt, I started sabotaging myself. Like
Uh,
right then and there. Started like not going to meetings and not going to meetings, not filling out the right documentation anymore, staying at home reading books and playing video games and shit instead of doing what I need to be doing to expand my company, to work on keeping everything that I had going
mm-hmm.
on in the company or whatever. I started and I started saying it shouldn't be me here, it should be him.
Uh-huh.
He should be the one here. And that shit soaks into your unconscious mind and it will fuck you royally. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I did or whatever. And next thing you know, 6 months down the road, I got to shut down. I have to fire or lay off, however you want to say it, over 50 employees in one morning.
Wow.
I'd like dead ass. I had to fire 15 people, not 15. We had over 50 employees that we had to let go in one morning or whatever. And that's not even talking about the clients that we served as well. So, um, so being humbled to fuck up, yeah. And then a year or so after that, I have to sell everything. My mom's, she had passed sometime before that.
Mm-hmm.
I had to sell all of her shit because I had no more money left. Like so, and I ended up having to sleep in my car. You know what I'm saying, with my son. So
Right.
like now I'm motherfucking like, and I think that that's the reason why like a lot of this shit doesn't really bother me as much. Like so it's like if you have a lot of money, that's what's up.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like I know exactly who I am when I don't have it. So like when I would have to go work at temp services and shit, I would take again that 10% of my little income, and I would go over to the dollar store, Dollar General, not Dollar General, Dollar Tree, and go buy a couple books because they had books there for $1. I had a piece of shit car, but it still ran. I would work at temp services just to get money for groceries and Pampers and formula and food and shit for my son. His first glasses I bought from doing that. I still had to fucking come out of pocket for daycare and shit. And again, this is all being broke as fuck. And
Right.
I smoked cigarettes at the time. And I remember one time, man, I bought some cigarettes and then I didn't even have enough money to go get my son some bananas. So, like, again, I can sit and listen to a person telling me some shit all day long. But at the end of the day, like, again, I know who I am with and without it. You know what I'm saying? Like I got money. I can show you my credit. I have money. I have this and the other, but I also know exactly who I am without it.
Right.
I have to go back to dead ass. I mean, like, I'm going to say, like, what if I had to go back to living in my motherfucking car
Mm-hmm.
type stuff, whatever? I know exactly what to do to rebuild myself back up. Oh, let me rephrase that. I know exactly what to do to replace everything that I had lost,
Right.
uh, uh, financially and materialistically. But as far as finding myself, bitch, I know me. I know me. Like I've been there with myself, looking myself in the face. And that's the scariest thing about being homeless. It's not losing your stuff. It's not having other people look at you. It's not the comments that people make. It's when you are face to face with you. That's the scariest thing about being homeless. When you have to look yourself in the mirror and it's all now on you. You
Right.
don't have anything. You ain't got them clothes. You ain't got that. You don't have your reputation. You don't have that TV. You don't ain't got them cars, clothes, all that shit that you put in front of people to see exactly who you are. You ain't got that no more. It's gone. That whole facade is gone. You only got you. And what I learned is that man, with a pen pad and a motherfucking book, bitch, I don't need much.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like dead ass. Like I don't. I got more shit accomplished when I didn't have anything than I do when I have stuff. Or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And like I said before, whatever you are when you're broke is what you're gonna be when you have money. You see all these books behind me?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you see the television behind that, and then there's that little blue thing. There's books all over there. The little spindle thing, the little wooden thing behind that has books. But the most important part about those books is what's right next to that, which are my son's trophies for karate. Yeah, he reached his black belt, and that's more important to me than the books because I can always replace those books. But that time that my son, uh, but taking my son to karate for 4.5, 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
that's some shit that'll stay with you. You know what I'm saying? Like those are things that and he earned that. You know what I'm saying? Like he
Yeah.
earned that. That's not something you can take from him. Even if we lost his belt, the experience is his.
Yeah.
So when it comes to success, when it comes to failure, when it comes to starting the fuck over, yeah, I very much know that. All of it. And it sucks sometimes. But I'm telling you, the part of finding yourself, that is the greatest fucking gift you can give to yourself. I would even suggest, I listen to me. I understand why Jesus told his flock to give their shit away. I understand it because I didn't do it willingly.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But I understand why Jesus told his people, give your shit away. Get unburden yourself with this shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I understand that. So I mean, sorry, I'm gonna get off my little soapbox, but I'm just saying, like I understand this probably better than most because I was there.
Well, I think it goes to the point that when you're looking for inspiration or looking, for the self-help kind of stuff,
Mhm.
sometimes you just need to talk to the people around you
That's it.
instead of going to the book or trying to find the answer within a video or somebody's community or YouTube or whatever. Sometimes it's just building with the people around you and listening to their stories and drawing your inspiration from there. And other times you don't realize how good things are for you until you actually see how this person that you see online is really living. Because, like I said, some of these travel bloggers, you know, the I'm gonna go live in a van people for a year. Um, you know, some of these girls that get on there and they're always out in Dubai and all this other stuff. There's a cost that they don't disclose to the public about what they had to do to get there. And if you
Right.
knew what the cost was, you wouldn't envy their position at all.
Hmm.
You wouldn't envy their position at all.
Hmm.
But we get into these things where we see these people living these lives that we think we want until you realize what they had to give up to achieve that life or what they have to give up to maintain the facade of living that life. Like I said, um, these jet setting people, the beautiful people jet setting and all these exotic locales, you don't know what they had to do to get there and what they have to do to maintain that. And I'm
Indeed.
not talking about, oh, some Illuminati stuff or anything. I'm just talking about the real physical cost and the mental cost of what it takes to get there. And so I don't think people get there.
Nah.
And like I said, sometimes it's not within the self-help book. Because here's the thing, and Fearless and I discussed it, the percentages for people that actually have success with self-help is pretty low. And there's a couple of different factors. It's not the information isn't good. It's not that these people are grifters. Sometimes the information is bad and sometimes they are grifters. I'm not saying that that's a universal thing. Um, it's the fact that you may not be in the season to take advantage of that information. And they don't really have a framework to explain where you are in life or where you need to be in life to get to draw the benefits that they have through their advice. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
And so
Hold on. Say that one more time.
so they don't have the insights to help you in the way that you need to be helped because they don't know where you are relative in your life. They don't know what your personal situation is. They can just give information based on what they see. And more times than not, they're not going to individualize it to you because you're not in direct contact with these people. So you're taking their stories and their frameworks and trying to make them fit into your book.
Gotcha.
And sometimes, a lot of times, people don't really have success with it. Like you may not be in the position, like a lot of Robert Kiyosaki's position was built. A lot of it had to do with how old he is. Some of the opportunities that he had simply do not exist for you with
Yeah,
regular
right.
money.
Yeah, no, no, not today. It doesn't.
Not in 2026.
Not today.
So you may be able to take some concepts of what he's talking about, but the environment that he was living in doesn't exist anymore with real estate and all this other stuff. It just
No,
doesn't exist. And so you're gonna have to find your own pathway. Again, like they said, if you want to learn how to run a restaurant, you don't go to talk to the successful restaurateurs, you talk to the ones that have failed. Because they can tell you
right.
what pitfalls to avoid. Because sometimes the successful ones, they don't know what happened to make them successful. They just happen to be right place, right time. And they don't really know the things that would make them unsuccessful. But the unsuccessful people know both sides of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's what we're talking about. And it's kind of a general critique. So I think maybe the series is we kind of bring in self-help books and talk about what they're good and what they're bad at, but also put in a framing like sometimes the self-help book isn't enough. You might need somebody who actually has on the ground experience who can sit there and physically talk to you. Right? Like you might need that person who can actually ask you questions about shit and help you sift through things and individualize things to your world or your experience with the world. And you may not always get that with a self-help book or self-help video. You may need to actually sit down and talk to somebody who actually can take a stock of your situation and give you advice based on the context of where you are. And sometimes it's also just taking honest inventory of yourself and what you are willing to do and what you're not willing to do. Right? You know, Fearless has been a business owner long enough. I've been a business owner long enough. More times than not, most businesses don't fail because the owner is inept or not knowing what they're doing.
Sometimes they do.
Sometimes they do, but it's not always. Sometimes it's just because you started at the wrong time. You started in the wrong market,
or you grew too fast.
Grew too fast,
which actually does happen. That does actually happen.
Or you didn't stick with it long enough.
That too.
Because
I would say that happens probably more than anything else.
Because I got a couple of things I know for a fact that I did not stick with long enough, and it would have been fine. It would have been fruitful, but I end up getting lost in the sauce and comparing myself to people that are already successful in the space that I was in, instead of looking at where I was. So,
yeah.
All right. I'm looking through the notes. I think I touched on everything. I don't want to turn this into like us just dunking on Robert Kiyosaki, because I don't think that that's necessarily a thing, not necessarily beneficial to the audience. But I do think.
I mean, here's the thing. We're not though.
Right.
But we're not dissing him. We're just adding those subtle nuances to his stuff. That's all we're doing.
Right. Because here's the thing. Have you ever seen those videos on YouTube? I don't know if you've seen them, Fearless. I know I've seen them, where some rich guy will sit there and say, if I was starting over with no money, this is what I would do.
Grant Cardone did that.
Yeah.
And he failed.
Yes. It's
Grant Cardone did that and he failed.
You'll never see more bullshit than when some rich guy who's been rich for a couple of decades will tell you what he would do to start over in this economy, in the world that he exists in now.
Grant Cardone did the same thing and he fucking failed.
Mm-hmm.
Right on his face. All that marketing shit, all that stuff, all that getting out there, all that 10x this, 10x that. Perfect. But when it was on him to do the same exact thing, he was not able to do that. Right. Matter of fact, he had every excuse of why it couldn't be done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether people listen or not, that's on you. But that's exactly what happened.
And then for him to get on TV, because this is crazy. I saw it on YouTube. Somebody was talking about it, where he got on there and basically told people, he told Cass, he's like, if you're a white guy in this country, there's no reason for you to be poor. You have no excuse.
I 100% understand it.
And Grant Cardone came out there. That was him saying that. And
yeah, that makes sense, though.
Yeah.
That makes 100%. Some people might get offended by that. I don't. Like, I do not. Like, whatsoever.
And people got mad at him, but, I mean, it was...
Why? Why would you get mad at that? That's the truth.
Hurt feelings, bro.
Okay, right, but they're upset
You know what?
by what's said based on that. Motherfucker, that's on you.
You and I know what the score is on that one, but I think
I'm just saying, that's the truth.
it
I get
wasn't.
it.
I've seen one where it was some other guy. It might have been Tom Bilyeu or whatever. It might not. I don't know. Put it on him, but I think it was him. Or one of his friends. He's talking about if he had to start over with no house and homeless and all this other stuff. He was talking about how he would scrape up and beg. He would scrape up money by panhandling and get a cell phone, and
You do
then
what?
you scrape his money up to get a cell phone, and then use the cell phone to start calling people and start figuring out points of leverage so that he can do a print on demand t-shirt company.
Is that what he was doing?
That's what he said he would do.
Okay, no, I'm saying, but is that what he was doing?
This
Or does he know that well enough to start doing it?
I don't know what his pathway was. I don't think it had anything to do with print on demand. I think it was more regular run of the mill e-commerce stuff. But he said that would be the mechanism that he would be if he lost all of his money. That's how you would get to his first million within a year.
I mean, okay,
and it's
okay.
like
So again, if you would do that, cool. Okay, awesome. How many people have you done this for now? How many people have you taken? How many homeless shelters have you gone to?
Yeah.
And grabbed a couple people and said, "Hey, y'all need some money? Perfect. You, and you. Come with me. I'm gonna show you how to do this. We're gonna build a company. I'm gonna help you do this. Y'all gonna get it going. I'm gonna teach you how to get it going, get it started, all this stuff, whatever. I'll give it to you, just so we can prevent you from being homeless with you and your family." Mm-hmm. So my question would be, perfect. If you're doing this, how many people can you do this with now? You know what I'm saying? Because like myself,
they never asked that.
Of fucking course they're not gonna ask that. But do you know the reason why I thought about that? Because there's a real estate guy by the name of I want to say his name is Ray Allen, but that sounds like a basketball player. So there was a guy who I think his last name was Allen.
Yeah,
and he did this. He went around just grabbing random people and teaching them just a few steps in real estate and helping them to learn how to flip houses.
Yeah.
But I cannot remember the guy. I could have sworn his name was Allen because I read about it years ago. Because again, that's one of those things where people sit there and talk all this shit about what they would do here, what they would do there. But you never see any of this stuff in action. You don't ever see any of them. Like where is your proof of any of this stuff?
Right.
Like, where's your scientific double-blind placebo effect of any of this shit?
Or where's your learned and worked experience doing?
Yes, because I know. Fuck it, where's your evidence? Because even if you don't have any, sweet, show me the evidence of somebody else who was worse off than you, that you helped, you pulled them off the street and started doing this with them.
Right.
Who's that person?
And that's what I'm saying. Because I know my wheelhouse. I got hundreds of kids that I've taught social skills to and behavioral management skills to. And so I do have a little bit of a bag in there. And so I can teach people how to habituate and modify some of their current existing skills just because I've done it with so many different kids, which is a harder population to do it with. But I'm not going to tell you, well, if I had, this is how I would make $1 million when I haven't made $1 million through that thing, and I think the trap with those videos are they're talking about things that are outside of their industry. They're talking about trends that are going on. At the time, print on demand t-shirts was a big thing. And there was a couple of outliers who had a lot of success with print on demand shirts. But there's also a lot of people who didn't have any success with print on demand shirts. It just became another thing that they did. Just like with drop shipping. Um, I used to follow this guy, um, and I forgot what his name was, but he had an entire podcast where you talk about how he was drop shipping items from China and sending them out. He sourced them, have them shipped to the United States, and then drop ship them, or he drop shipped them straight from China, and he built an Amazon business out of it, and he was
Okay.
making money for his family and stuff. He's an outlier. Most people who get into that drop shipping on that level end up losing their shirts
Okay.
just because there's so many factors that you cannot account for. It takes one hurricane and your business is gone. One embargo, your business is gone overnight. And so, um, he had success with it, and he could tell you how he had success with it, but he can't necessarily tell you how you are going to have success with it unless you directly work with him and he understands what's going on in your specific life and things along those lines. So it's kind of a send up of the self-help industry, but not really, because we're saying that some people you can pay people to absolutely succeed in ways that you didn't know that you succeed, but it takes them knowing you personally, or at least being aware of what your situation is and having a one-on-one dialogue with them instead of, I buy this book or I watch this video and they're going to fix my life. That's what I
Okay.
got. That's what I got.
All right. So hold on. Actually, I misspoke. So first off, I was right about his name. His name is Robert G. Allen.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. He is a real estate investor and author, but there is no definitive, well documented program or initiative of him helping homeless people. It talked about him doing it, but it never showed
Mm-hmm.
that he actually did any of that. So again, I mean, and again, going back to what we just talked about, how is it that none of these people can actually show and prove what the fuck they're talking about?
Well, and it's like the cats that sell the day trading stuff, right? Here's my system to beat the market every single time and win in day trading. If they had a system like that, they wouldn't be selling it to you. They would be a trillionaire because they had applied
Right.
it themselves.
And not, yeah, and not only that though, but the FT, and the FTC,
Mm-hmm.
Federal Trade Commission, they would investigate the shit out of you
Yeah.
because you're not a part of that clique or whatever in general. So like, and I was thinking about that. Like if you just started helping a bunch of black people to do that, to understand stocks and all that stuff and trades and this and the other, your ass would be in jail or whatever, because then or they change the rules
Mm-hmm.
to the game within itself. Like, oh well, you have to have this type of license to do this, or you'd have to have that to be able to do this, or whatever, because too many people are becoming successful. In this country, we need a permanent underclass, period. We need a permanent underclass. And here's the thing, black people are not enough. And that is the reason why I think that there's a split between the haves and the have nots, the rich and the poor, whereas before you at least had your middle class.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're doing away with that. So it's you're either up here or you're down there.
Mm-hmm.
There is no in between.
Well, let me throw this in there. I'm
Go
gonna throw
ahead.
this in there. I've actually had somebody step to me like when I was really heavy in my investing bag, where they asked me how to teach them how to invest. And so I said, all right. And what I presented to them was so boring, they didn't want to do it. I said, what you need to do is go out and buy The Intelligent Investor and read it from cover to cover and take notes. Because that's how I started.
Okay, I don't know what that means.
I started by when I wanted to get into investing, and this was back in the early, like, probably about 2004.
Okay.
Um, I went out and bought the book, The Intelligent Investor, because that was one of the, at the time, that was the few books that Warren Buffett actually recommended.
Hmm.
And I got that one. That's Benjamin Graham. And so I got that one and read that from cover to cover. And then I started watching CNBC and seeing how investors talked about different things. And as much shit as people give the Mad Money guy, his books are actually solid information. So I started reading his books about how to do due diligence on stocks and how to study stocks and how much time it actually takes to have a managed portfolio. And you got to dedicate like 10 hours, to anywhere between 10 and 20 hours a month to actually researching your stocks and knowing what your positions are and knowing why your stocks make money the way they do. And so I read a lot
Mm.
of books and then started dipping my toe in with small investments, right? It was there was and so the thing that lost her was there was no magic button. There was no course that I took. It was I read the books, I took noted
And
down
you
everything they said,
and you did the work.
and I did the work of doing it. And I watched hours and hours of CNBC. And I watched enough to know that around 2007, 2008, the economy was absolutely heading towards a cliff. I predicted it. I'm like, okay, things are about to turn bad. I saw some indicators based on some stuff I read, and invariably the economy completely crashes. The housing market completely falls away. And I ended up running in and buying all my stocks at that time.
Do you think that there's going to be another one with the housing?
Yes.
Because I was trying to tell people, like, man, I
I
don't
don't know
think
if
that I don't think that these have the prices of these houses. I don't believe that they're going to stay as high as they are today.
I don't know if it's going to be a housing. I think we might see a bubble somewhere else. I don't think it's going to be the AI bubble. I think it's going to be something else. Because what's happening is, and this happened. This is just my take on it. So forgive me. I'm not the guy on CNBC. But during the pandemic, we saw indicators that have been traditionally indicators in the stock market no longer mean shit. We see the stock market that normally we see other markets that run align with that ran along with the stock market absolutely invert, and they didn't mean anything either. And so
Hmm.
we saw things that had never been seen before.
Okay.
And I think we're heading towards that kind of precipice. And I think it's going to probably be the tariffs that end up doing it.
You think so? So what do you mean by that?
I think that we're going to end up reaching a peak where we have alienated so many people and don't have any free trade
Yes, buddy.
and don't have any free trade. The money's
Yes, buddy.
things are going to cost so much that your average person isn't going to be able to sustain it. And there's going to be and I think that's going to be the thing that tanks stock market. Because here's the thing, and people don't understand this: the stock market is really the biggest emotion predicting machine on the planet. It is based on people's sentiment about the business, not based on it's not based on what people's money is or what a business what their assets are or anything along those lines. Sometimes it's not even based on what the business is actually doing, if they're doing really well or anything along those lines, or if the profit to earning ratio is within a certain target. It doesn't mean anything. It's how people feel about that business or feel about that industry or feel about the stock market. And the stock market is based on people's emotions, nothing else. And if enough people feel bad about the stock market, that means bad things for your average basic investors. Now, for your industrial investors or the institutional investors, they don't care one way or the other. Stock market goes down, they jump in and buy more. Stock market goes up, they sell what they could and take their profit. And that's just how the game runs. Um, the benefit that a regular investor has, like, you need to kind of copy that, and you got to be willing to eat losses to do that.
Hmm.
So, anyway, what I was telling her wasn't exciting enough about stocks, and so she's like, "Oh, I think I'll figure it out on my own." And she paid some guru who promised her a quick solution with getting into forex trading and stuff like that, and ended up losing money on it. Sorry, there are no quick solutions when it comes to this shit. You got to go out there and put in the work and learn it yourself.
Right.
But I think that's the problem with a lot of people. People buy self help, think it's going to fix them, as opposed to using self help for what it really is gaining a perspective that you may not have had already, and then you add new perspectives to it. That's why I read multiple books and listen to
Right.
multiple sources. So that's what it is, fearless.
Okay.
So I don't know I don't know what the housing market's going to do. I think
I hope it does, because if that if it does happen, which I hope that it does, or whatever, houses are gonna go back to being moderately affordable. Because again, another thing is you keep shooting the housing price up or whatever. Who's gonna be able to afford them? I mean, people could barely afford to pay their rent,
Yeah.
let alone to buy a to buy a 200, excuse me, a $300,000 house that 10 years ago could would have only been 120,000.
I'll be honest with you. I do think some of the elements are in the air for it, just based on, like you said, the pricing, how much this stuff costs, the fact that the builders aren't incentivized to build the family homes that people can afford. They are incentivized to build the the kind of homes that people want to lease out or rent out to people for an exaggerated cost. I think that's going to be the thing that craters everything. And
Right.
as much as lip services say we want to stop big corporations from buying houses when the Mango Mussolini gets up there and says we're gonna we're gonna I'm gonna stop institutional investors from buying houses and stuff like that. I think he's basically saying I'm gonna stop the institutional investors that don't like me. They haven't put money in my pockets from buying the houses up. I don't see that ever happening where they outlaw institutional investors from buying houses because that's industry in and of itself, and that's $1 trillion industry in and of itself.
Isn't that crazy? Because you can't do that if in other countries they won't let you
Yeah.
do that at all. You can't. I can't go to China and just start buying up shit. Like they won't let you do that at all. But yeah, said it's okay for other people to buy shit here all
Mhm.
day long. It's okay.
And buy up houses.
It's buy houses and all. But if you don't live here, if you're not a resident of the U.S. in general, I don't think you should be able to own shit here because it's the same way. Well, we are. You know what I'm saying? I think that that's what a trade agreement should be.
I think it's more damaging that BlackRock, I think it's Blackstone or BlackRock or Blackstone, one of the two. I think it might be Blackstone, who is the single biggest real estate holder on the planet. They got trillions of dollars of real estate assets, and a chunk of it they own like 2 or 3% of the residential housing market. I think that's a problem, and I don't think that that's going to get any better because they're also the ones that are also financing these campaigns and everything else. A lot of shit. And this is what it is. If they ever went back and rolled back the campaign financing laws to what they were, a lot of the problems in this world would be solved because there wouldn't be any incentive to legislate on behalf of corporations because corporations could dump unlimited amounts of money into people's campaigns.
Yeah,
But that's not going to happen. That's not the world we live in, and so it is what it is.
it
But
is.
But anyway, we've gone far afield, guys. I appreciate you. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. I don't know if there's any other self help books. If we're in one piece and the country hasn't blown up by then, we might have some news stuff to talk about. Um, but that's all I got. Fearless, do you have anything to
Nope,
sign off with?
I'm good.
All right, we'll talk to you guys later. Like, share, and subscribe when you see this. It's been trial and error. Talk to y'all later. Peace.